Chag Sameach, Good Yom Tov, and Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm Cantor David Prozer of Kempsville Conservative Synagogue, Kehillat Bet HaMidrash in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And today I'm discussing the Torah and Haftarah readings for the 7th and 8th days of Yom Tov of Pesach, which occur this weekend on Shabbat, Saturday, April 3rd, and Sunday, April 4th. On Shabbat, the 7th day of Pesach, we take out two scrolls. The Torah reading from the first scroll is from the book of Shemot, the book of Exodus, verses 1317 to 1526, found beginning on page 399 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 265 of the Hertz. If we were in a regular minyan and not on Zoom, we would read 7 aliyot as we do on every Shabbat. As you have noticed all along, each Yom Tov day's Torah reading, as one would expect, is applicable to the observance of the holiday of Pesach, of Passover. Today's reading describes the first major event that Israel would experience following the Exodus. Our tradition holds that this happened on the 7th day after leaving Egypt, thus its selection as the Torah reading for the 7th day of Pesach. Pharaoh has had time to regret his freeing the slaves. He mobilizes the Egyptian army and begins his pursuit of the fleeing Israelites. He catches up with the Israelites at the shore of the Reed Sea. With the Egyptians in hot pursuit, Moshe raises his staff, the waters of the sea split apart, and the Israelites miraculously walk across on dry land to safety. When the Egyptians reach the dried up seabed, they enter to follow the Israelites, but God causes the water to return. Their chariots become bogged down. The horses and riders sink to the bottom and are drowned. Moshe and the children of Israel sing a magnificent song of thanksgiving. That song, which we know as Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea, beginning Oz Yashir Moshe, has become part of our daily morning service and is read in our yearly Torah reading cycle as part of Parsha B'Shalach on Shabbat Shira. The Torah reading concludes with their journey of 3 days through the wilderness of Shur and their arrival at Marah, where they couldn't drink the bitter waters, and how God sweetened the bitter water so they could drink. We would then take the second scroll to read the Maftir portion for the day. Like all other Yomim Tovim, this Maftir is from the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, chapter 28, verses 19 to 25, from the Parsha of Pinchas. You can find it on page 932 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 695 of the Hertz. It describes the sacrifices that were brought on Pesach. The Haftarah for the 7th day of Pesach is taken from the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 22, verses 1 to 51. It can be found beginning on page 1311 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 1017 of the Hertz. It connects the theme of thanksgiving as sung in the Shirat Hayam in the Torah reading with a similar song of thanksgiving composed by King David. In the Haftarah, King David composes his own song of thanksgiving to God for all of his victories and deliverances from the enemy. The Haftarah concludes with the sentence, which is also included in the Birkat Hamazon, the grace after meals. Migdol Yeshuot Malko, v'osechet chesed limshicho, leDavid ulezaro at olam. A tower of salvation of his king, who shows mercy to his anointed, to David and to his heirs forever. On Sunday, the 8th day of Yom Tov and final day of Pesach, we again take out 2 Torah scrolls from the Ark. The Torah reading from the first scroll was from the book of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 15, verse 19 to chapter 16, verse 17, found beginning on page 1080 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 814 of the Hertz. We would read 5 aliyot, as is the case on every weekday Yom Tov. This is the same reading that we use for the last day of each of the Shalosh Regalim, the pilgrimage festivals, the 8th day of Pesach, the 2nd day of Shavuot, and Shmini Atzeret, the 8th day attached to Sukkot. Coincidentally, these are also the days on which we include Yizkar in our services. The reading deals with a variety of laws, including those relating to tithes and a comprehensive description of the 3 pilgrimage festivals. The Maftir on the 8th day, read from the 2nd scroll, is the same as the day before, from the Parsha of Pinchas in the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, chapter 28, verses 19 to 25. It can be found on page 932 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 695 of the Hertz. It describes the sacrifices that were brought on Pesach. The Haftarah for the 8th day of Pesach, Yom Tov, is taken from the book of Isaiah, verses 1032 to 12:6. It can be found beginning on page 1316 of the Eitz Chaim Chumash and page 1023 of the Hertz. The Haftarah begins with a prediction that Assyria will be defeated. This prophecy comes true. The Haftarah continues with Isaiah's message of hope that the Israelites will be gathered together from lands of exile and return to Israel. The Haftarah also contains the famous vision of the Messianic era when peace and harmony will reign supreme among all the peoples. Because the Haftarah contains several allusions to the redemption from Egypt, it was especially chosen to be chanted on the last day of Passover. An image from this Haftarah has entered the ritual of Havdalah at the end of Shabbat. The preliminary verses of Havdalah include Ushavtem mayim b'sason mimayane hayeshua. You shall draw water in joy from the well of salvation, using water as a metaphor for knowledge of God. The 8th day of Pesach is an occasion to redirect our gaze from the past to the future. The Haftarah encourages us to envision and yearn for a better, safer, and healthier world. How much more prophetic are these hopes this year in particular? Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos. Chag Sameach, good Yom Tov. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to subscribe, to like, to hit the notification bell so you always know when we post new content, and feel free to leave comments below. Chag Sameach.